Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Scale Smart podcast. I'm your host, Jacob, and also the founder of Next Scale Growth. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by Nicky Chenery, the CRO of Partful. Nicky, thank you for joining me today.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you on. Nicky, before we get into the flow of the podcast, do you mind telling me and also the audience a little bit more of your background and what your role consists of at Partful?
Yeah, sure. So, been in the industry for around 30 years, doing many different roles. So, also spent 10 years at Adobe, worked in channel and some IC roles, and then looked after teams there. And also ran EMEA for another Australian startup, Safety Culture, which is now a Series C backed company. And then came into this role at Partful. So yeah, been here around 7 months, and my role is as CRO, so looking after basically the growth team, so looking after sales, customer success, and marketing.
Amazing. And what do you guys actually do at Partful for people who might not know?
Yeah, sure. So Partful came from a great idea that was from our founder. And so he is ex-SAS. He also worked with the UN for a while, but he spent a lot of time repairing vehicles, being out in the field and realizing then when parts have gone down and things have gone wrong, that you get sent these parts. They're often the wrong and incorrect part. You're meant to try and figure out how to work that from a PDF document on a phone and replace it or get the vehicle back in situ, and just had this massive problem that he'd like surfaced that people were facing across the world. And it's
Yeah.
basically because, OEMs aren't doing a particular good job in some cases of that aftercare market. So came up with the idea to build this out with 3D immersive parts catalogues. So visually being able to identify, see the correct part so you get the right part first time. And then not only that, we have another element to that called workful, which allows you then to understand how to fit the part correctly or repair the
Mm,
part correctly, or sometimes on assembly lines as well, how to actually build correctly. So that's
mm.
where it came from. That's what we're doing. So we're revolutionizing the aftercare market.
Oh, amazing. Nicky, with you being involved in the marketing, being involved in the sales, the growth, the customer success, you must come up with and see lots of challenges and hurdles which you have to come across and get over in terms of growing the company to that next level. So what would you say in the 7 months that you've been at Partful are some of the challenges which you've experienced and that you've come over now? And then what would you say are some of the biggest challenges you see within the marketing, the sales, the growth that you're currently experiencing now?
Yeah, I think when Sam first took this to market, they did it very much as a managed service in-house with the artists in-house and kind of a managed service where they built out these instructions or built out kind of
Mhm.
catalog. Now, the reality of that is it wouldn't have scaled particularly well. So what we did was went back to basics. How would we scale this better? The reality of that was to build a SaaS platform. To make this more efficient, more self-serve for the customer, but also allow us to be able to get that true like rinse and repeat type model that we could scale out efficiently.
Mhm.
So one of the things, from coming in is we put a beta into the market. We gathered a lot of information, and then we've also been able to react on that and build better and more sustainable for the future. I think that the most challenging thing I would say is this is not, often not replacing a true incumbent. There are 2D competitors out there. There are very few 3D. So it is a disruptive technology, I would say. Um,
Mm.
it's not necessarily that there's a budget set aside for this as a project. It's also production is often in OEMs absolutely the priority. Thing about it is that they're leaving money on the table to third parties as well. So a lot of this
Mm.
to China and different companies, and the reality is that we want to enable them, and in this climate today, to actually be able to offer them something that's going to put something on the bottom line is a little bit transformational. So you have to build out, great ROI stories to support this initial investment, but the return is, huge.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that I see a lot, and it's almost like communicating that to your potential customers. And actually, one thing which I found really, really helpful with like how I've been doing things for not only myself but also clients who have had that similar issue is almost like gaining insights on what your dream customers want and like problems you've solved and things like that. And publishing certain type of content, and if someone searches you, they can see the problems you've solved. And that's something that we've seen really, really effective in terms of like standing out and actually getting them to think, oh, okay, actually we need that, because they're having that problem. And it's like two things. It's like people are either problem aware or they're solution aware. And it's like, which one do we go after? So no, that's a really good point which you make there. And I
think,
think,
sorry, I was going to say you're so right though. I think it's them understanding that there is
yes,
a problem. Two, is it the priority today?
yes,
And then I think the other thing we've seen is again, it's around building out the stakeholders within a business because
mm,
talk to an aftercare manager. I mean, they've got dealerships and stuff that were having a terrible experience trying to buy
mm,
parts from them. And they feel the pain, but not necessarily the people with the budget. So, it is really
mm.
understanding how this affects what would the C-suite be interested in versus what your champion is feeling.
Yeah. And I think again, that's really, really important. It's about speaking to the right person and getting past, let's say, the gatekeepers, because there's a lot of them. And I was speaking to an AI company who they basically sold into hotels, and they was like, we just can't get past like the receptionist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I see it happen so many times. I like, we need the general manager. And I was like, right, okay. And I was like, I pulled up about 10 general managers on LinkedIn from like the Holiday Inn and like all of different hotels around the country. And I was like, you're just not doing enough. Because if you can't get past a receptionist, and I've just pulled up 10 general managers in front of your face in 10 seconds, then there's something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is, I think, marketing in itself. So a really interesting time. And I'm sure you've chatted with other people about this, but we
Mm,
were with regard to, feedback that we're having and the AI aspect that's in there right now as
yeah.
well. It's like, you can think about multi-channel marketing, but what we are also challenging is like when you've got like a demo opportunity and people with like true PLG kind of approaches,
Mm,
a lot of people aren't even making it now to the website because they surface this information in other
mm,
places, right? With ChatGPT and Gemini and different and sources. So it's kind of like we're also thinking about how do we underpin ourselves in that AI world as well. I mean, we
yeah.
pretty highly in there, but it's making sure that it's built out individually. Do we go globally? Do we come across
Mm.
globally? I think it's an unknown right now for a lot of businesses, but it's certainly something that we're thinking about.
Definitely, definitely. And Nikki, with many solutions like emerging in digital manuals and after sales, what would you say differentiates Partful in the eyes of these OEMs?
Yeah, so a lot of people suffer with this because they will build out kind of 2D models. And a lot of what you see is like there's a couple of different scenarios here. Some people will be like very archaic in the fact that they've still got a customer service desk. People will ring through, can only order parts right between 9 and 5 on weekdays. So really limited market. You've got that kind of scenario where, we also get like people are just sending WhatsApp pictures and expecting the team to know,
Mm,
out of 20,000 parts. Oh, I know which one it is. So you can imagine what I was talking about earlier, like 1 in 5 parts in automotive goes back because it was ordered incorrectly. So what this does, and the difference being is, and I think where we win is one, we ingest the CAD. So it actually provides a digital thread throughout that business as well for the first time. And also CAD models change constantly. So once you've published, a manual, that's pretty much it. So they make a change. You don't get the change. This is where the anomalies start to begin. So with us, you
mm,
can make those changes on the fly. The other beauty of it is how quickly we ingest the CAD. We had
mm,
some customers who were using incumbent. These guys had 20 models, an OEM, reasonable size. They'd been working with them for 2 years with this incumbent, and in 2 years, they'd managed to get 5 models live. That's
oh
how
wow.
long it takes for somebody to build this out. The beauty of this is that you can build it out within, like, hours and days versus, weeks, months, and years, and
Yeah, yeah.
been huge for companies. So the benefit and the return is much quicker. It's also opens up other things like it's aesthetically way more pleasing as well. But if you had language barriers, rather than you having to publish, in 20, 30 different languages, because it is so good to identify by sight, it kind of eradicates the need to do that. So that's a huge cost
Mm,
saving. Other people are seeing kind of time to markets quicker because they can train their teams so much quicker. Plus, they've got that
mm.
enforcement element. So there's just so many benefits to doing it rather than hoping that somebody identifies it on a phone or it's a
Yeah,
paperback.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really important. And how would you say you guys are putting these differentiators across into the market to making sure that your ideal customers is seeing this?
Yeah. So we talk about, bringing value, and we don't do a proof of concept. We call it a proof of value because I think that's important. It's different. So what when we talk to customers, and it's interesting because we aren't, we don't have a free team kind of option set up currently. So you don't have that inbound influx. We are getting MQLs. So we're doing a lot of different, paid search, LinkedIn, all the usual kind of metrics, some meta stuff we've been trialing, webinars and events, as you would imagine. But some of the other things is like from our outbound perspective, when we actually speak to people, it's not a hard call. People are super receptive because they are feeling this. It's such a big marketplace right now.
Mm,
So the good thing is once you can get them on the phone, generally you will have a really good, solid conversation and then start to build it out from there. But yeah, I would say it's, outbound is always trickier, as we spoke about. But I
yeah.
think what we've been clear on is really being defined around our TAM, building out strong persona approaches
Mm,
and really understanding the pain rather than I think, to a degree when I first came in, it was a little bit around kind of features and price, which it always
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
off. And I think that's where you've got to
Yeah.
go down a different route.
Yeah, definitely. And on the topic of like outbound, it's like, well, there's so many tools out there, and we're leveraging a lot of AI. I think most of the things we do is so automated. It's unbelievable some of the things that we've been managed to get access to as well. And it's even in terms of just personalizing things and knowing your TAM, like you said, and knowing the problems which they're having. Because when you understand that, even from an outbound perspective, you're going out cold. So if you're sending a cold email or you're doing a cold call, I think cold emailing is a little bit harder than cold calling sometimes. But then when you do cold call at scale, what I've seen is so many people just churn when you're doing it at a big, big scale. So I think that with outbound, I think it's all about like personalization, actually making sure that person feels spoken to and that they're not being sold to. Because I think you probably get more than me, but I probably get 10 to 15 to 20 emails every single day saying, hey, Jacob, we can do this, we can do that. I'm like, just go away. Like, if you're going to try and sell me something,
Yep.
at least put the time and effort into making sure it's relevant to me.
Yeah. And I must admit, you're right. There's I get inundated. I think actually this morning I've just opened one with a Yorkshire tea bag in. So they've not researched me. I'm from Lancashire, so there you go. But the ones that I probably resonate more with me is when they've actually, it is more personalized. They understand
Yeah,
OEMs. They understand that, they're asking if they can help kind of, upfront meetings with the right personas. That
yeah.
does resonate better. And again, that's what the approach we take. It's like, walking in the customer's shoes, understanding the pain. But I think going back to my point earlier, that's where you can't have this like one stop approach. Like you have to think about what it means to the aftercare guy, which is his time
Mm,
and probably the frustration that he feels, like tapping into that versus actually from, a COO, a CRO, a CEO's perspective. It's
mm,
got to be about how this becomes a priority and what
yeah,
getting them to buy into actually what money they're leaving on the table and making this relevant.
definitely.
That is the difficult bit. And it's like you've got to spin to do outbound well. You got to spin a lot of plates to make this
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
And I also think actually for us, events are proving to be a really good source. And
Mm,
we are actually just going and walking a lot of events rather than actually exhibiting at all of them.
yeah.
Because it's the right audience, it's OEM. So you might not get the right person, but you certainly get a good hot intro.
Definitely, 100%. And some of the things that like we've seen, I just think people are becoming lazy with emails. I think they're just thinking, right, I've got a list of 20,000 companies. Let me just make a templated, hi first name. We can help a company name, just doing basic personalization like that, which realistically is not hard to do at all. instead, like we've even had some replies from the clients and also myself, like, is this handwritten to me?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like, because you can make it so personalized with tools, people just they can't be asked to do the research and actually find out more. Like, for example, if you're reaching out to an individual, just like for yourself, 7 months in a row, even if someone personalized that and say, congratulations on being at Partful for 7 months. It's like things like that, like small things. You could probably do a little bit better than that, but like it's small things like that, which actually looks, okay, this person's actually done their research. Let me see what they have to say.
yeah, and I think, like, being in today's world, it's such a gift that you've got the chance and access to
Yeah.
all this knowledge that, when
Yeah.
I think back in my day, it literally was like I was given a phone with the yellow pages and off you go, like, that's
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah.
It's so different, and I think, yeah, you're right, like, not to it appears a little lazy if you don't put that due diligence in,
Yeah.
and I do think, and I say this to the guys even, when they're doing their discos, like, don't just go on to this call. Know who you're talking to. Do your research first. Make sure you have good
Mm,
conversational stuff. And that's why I think sometimes when people, get into situations where they'll get discovery calls booked or they go on to them, to go on without prep, that should never happen. And I've seen
no.
it, and you
Yeah.
just think, what a waste. Like, you don't get
Yeah.
that opportunity again. So
Oh, 100%.
everything, that your appearance, the impact, like anything you can
Yeah.
make from that first meeting is huge. So that's the most important part for me, that you take the
100%.
time and prepare.
100%. And it's that preparation. And how I see it, if you're sending me a basic generic email to try and get a conversation with me, what are you going to do if I'm going to work with you?
Yeah, yeah,
It's like that. And I think regarding what you said about the preparation within the discovery and the research, and it takes 5 minutes, like probably 5-10 minutes maximum, just to do a little bit of research on this person. Like, for example, if we had never spoken before this podcast and you had never told me you were going on a holiday, but you maybe posted something,
yeah,
I would have still known that because a little bit of research, and it just builds up that rapport and just builds
it
up that
does.
relationship from there. And it's just so much more likely to be able to have another conversation with that person because you know they're actually interested in talking to you.
Yeah, and I think, this is important when you're building your teams out as well, that you get
Yeah,
the right DNA in there. And
yeah,
it is, I talk a lot about when you're building strong sales teams out, about inputs and outputs. And generally when you put people side by side, you will see the inputs on the people that perform better, right?
yeah,
But I've also seen the scenarios where, there is that correlation that they've done the same stuff, but the difference is the magic that somebody brings, and it's that
yeah,
extra mile that they will go. And
yeah.
that is what makes a great team and a great salesperson, somebody who actually takes the time, um, and puts that effort in and just goes the extra mile. And I do believe that's what differentiates great people.
100%, 100%. And Nikki, just to finish up, if people wanted to find out more about yourself or also Partful, where's the best place for them to maybe take a look at what you guys do?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously visit our website, which is partfulio, .com, or .com. And yeah, all the platforms are on there, Workful and Partful. And Nicky Chenery, I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out as well, or Nicky.Chenery at partful.io.
Amazing. Well, Nikki, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Great. Lovely to see you. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye bye.